A group of students gained powers and were challenged to survive after they were brought to another world. One night while they were on their bus to go on a field trip, they were surprised that the sun was shining after they got out of the tunnel. It turned out they were already in another world, and after a while, a sage named Shin entered their bus. She did not even hesitate to eliminate their teacher as well as the driver in front of them. All were terrified after what she did, but she continued and explained to them their situation. Shin said that they had been summoned to this world to become candidates for sagehood. Then she put in them the system called the battle song. But Tomochika was wondering why she was not emitting light, unlike the rest of her classmates. Through this system, the students could see a portal where their gifts or abilities were viewed on the list. Shin added that they only have a month's window to achieve sagehood. And if they could not do this, they would be turned into animals. Their first mission would start after an hour, and it was up to them how they would overcome it. When Shin left, Mikochi saw in her portal that a dragon was going to attack them. Because of this, Suguru immediately told everyone to gather, so they could discuss their plan. He told everyone to write their gift on a piece of paper, so they would know what to do. Aside from Tomochika, there were 3 others who were not equipped with the system, and they were Ayaka, Yuakairo, and Yogai who had been sleeping since earlier. After a while, the others came out one by one, so Tomochika woke up Yogai, but he still would not wake up. Then they found out that the others decided to leave those who had no ability in the bus. Suguru said that they would only be a burden on their mission to become sages. Tomochika was shocked when they learned that their classmates were planning to make them a bait for the dragon. Asuha used her power on them, so they could attract the dragon. A few minutes later, the dragon came and immediately attacked, which caused the death of Ayaka and Yuakairo. Tomochika quickly moved to wake up Yogai. Fortunately, Yogai woke up this time. When Yogai saw the situation, he picked up the microphone and threw it at the dragon. But the creature quickly returned to attack them, so he used his power, causing the dragon to die immediately. Tomochika could not believe what happened, so Yogai told her not to panic and said that he wanted to know what happened while he was sleeping. When Tomochika calmed down, she told him of what happened earlier. Since only one dragon had shown up, they decided to get out of the bus. Tomochika noticed that there were 3 students approaching them, and they were Higashida, Fukuhara, and Hanakawa. They were surprised that the dragon was dead, but they were even more shocked that their baits were still alive. For this reason, Hanakawa would not be able to do his plan of turning Tomochika's body into a zombie. Tomochika mentioned something that Higashida did not like, so he suddenly released a fireball. When Yogai sensed that their classmates had the intention to kill them, he decided to get ahead of them. They just laughed thinking that Yogai was just joking, but they were surprised when Higashida collapsed. Yogai also eliminated Fukuhara, and then he ordered Hanakawa to confirm if the 2 were already dead. Hanakawa took this opportunity to use his healing power, but it did not work. Yogai told them that his power was called instant death to any target. Hanakawa pretended that he wanted to make peace with them so that he could attack, but Yogai immediately found out what he was planning. It happened because Yogai had another ability to know if someone wanted to do bad things to him. Hanakawa could do nothing but be discouraged because he knew that it was impossible for him to beat Yogai. Then he told him that this was not the first time that the 3 of them went to this world. But even though they stayed there for a long time, they found out that only a few hours had passed in their original world when they returned to this place. When Yogai learned that there was a possibility that they could still return to their world, he decided to eliminate Hanakawa as well. In Hanakawa's desire to live, he begged Yogai to make him a slave instead and not to kill him. He took out an item that would force him to always follow Yogai's orders. He never thought that Yogai would order him to hang out in the forest with many magical beasts. Before Hanakawa followed his order, Yogai told him to leave the important things he had. When Shin's disciple, named Yuichi, found out what happened in the first mission, he immediately reported to her. Shin thought that the 4 who died were those who did not have the battle song, but she was surprised that the 2 of those students belonged to rank S. Because of the death of the 2 others in rank S, Yuichi thought that one of them had the instant death ability. But Shin was complacent that the system she put on them did not have any problem, so she decided to ignore it this time. Yogai decided to go to the royal capital because they found out that the rest of their classmates were also there. When they arrived at a town, they were easily allowed to enter after the guards found out that they were also sage candidates. While they were walking, they were approached by a beastkin who introduced herself as Mireu. She offered to guide them, but after they finished in their shopping, they were taken to a group of criminals who had a grudge against the sage candidates. Since the group could not easily fight off the sage candidates, they just chose those sage candidates who had no power. Tamachika even warned Mireu not to continue with what they were planning, but the beastkin did not listen to her. So Yogai began to eliminate their enemies, and used his power on those behind them first. Then he put injuries to the different parts of the bodies of the remaining opponents. Mireu was so scared that she begged him to spare her. When Yogai was about to kill the remaining two enemies, his power did not work right away, so Mireu escaped quickly. But just a few seconds later, the two suddenly perished. Yogai and Tamachika were about to leave, but the soldiers led by Edelgard stopped them. The army had been watching them for a while because they planned to follow the criminals to where the two were supposed to be sold. But when Jorge used his appraisal skill, they found out that Yogai had no gift. So they decided to let them go, thinking that the two students were not responsible for what happened to the criminals. As soon as the two left, they immediately looked for a hotel where they would spend the night. Just a few moments after Tamachika entered her room, a soul suddenly appeared to her. She suddenly remembered her sister because the two were looked alike. The ghost introduced herself by the name Mokomoko. She was one of Tamachika's ancestors and would serve as her guardian angel to protect her. The reason why she only appeared to her at that time was because she was afraid of Yogai. Tamachika also found out that Mokomoko was the one who stopped her from receiving the battle song because if she had it, Shin would just control her like a puppet. And it was her mission to return Tamachika to the world where she came from, because she was the successor of the donghua school of archery and mixed martial arts. The next morning, they asked for help from the hotel manager, named Celestina, so they could find out the possible path that their classmates took. Celestina also provided items that they could use as well as the train tickets. Meanwhile, Edelgard brought one of the criminals to their leader, named Lane, who was a sage vampire. Since the healing power did not work on the criminal, she decided to turn him into a vampire, but he still was not cured. The hero suddenly came there because he wanted to end the rule of Lane. Using his holy sword called Cartina, he blew up the whole building. He thought he had killed Lin, but he was surprised when she suddenly appeared in front of him. Because of his failed mission, he asked her to kill him, but Lane just threw him away. On the other hand, while Yogai and Tamachika were on the train, Yogai felt danger, so he immediately covered Tamachika. It turned out that the sage Santaru and a robot from another world were currently fighting in the distance. Their fight was so intense and scared the other passengers who ran away. But Santaru got annoyed at their presence, so he attacked them all. Due to this harsh action, Yogai decided to eliminate Santaru. The robot could not do anything after Yogai did, then he took advantage of this opportunity to ask the robot if it had information on how they could return to their world. But the only way it knew was how it could return to the world where it came from. That night, when Edelgard and Jorge arrived at the scene of the battle, they were surprised to see Santaru's dead body. When Lane found out about it, she immediately talked to Shin. She also thought about instant death magic, but according to Shin, Santaru had a resistant ability to it, so it was impossible that this was the cause of his death. After Shin left, Lane instructed Masayuki to go to Hanibusa where the train was supposed to go, and bring the immortal corpse there. When Yogai and Tamachika arrived in the city of Hanibusa, they immediately went straight to the hotel that Celestina told them. They entered the building and met one of their classmates, named Tachibana. He was with 5 beautiful ladies named Erica, Stephanie, Chelsea, Euphemia and Riza. He offered Tamachika to be one of his mistresses, but Tamachika immediately refused. Then he told them why he was separated from their other classmates. He shared that while they were celebrating the completion of their first mission, Oatori, who had the consultant gift, spoke to him. With his dominator gift, he advised Tachibana to look for people who could be his slaves. Through this, he would become stronger, and it was possible for him to immediately attain the sagehood. After telling the story, he left with his beautiful ladies. A few hours later, while Yogai was resting, Masayuki's army also arrived in the city. They created a mess on the streets, and they were noticed by Tamachika from the window. Suddenly, Mokomoko said that she felt a presence outside of their room. So Tamachika decided to call Yogai so he could go to their room. At that moment, Yogai was dreaming of some events when he was young. After a while, he woke up because of the sound of the telephone. When he left the room, he immediately saw who Mokomoko was referring to, and it turned out to be Erika. He immediately used his power on her after sensing that she had bad intentions towards Tamachika. Tachibana, who was currently in the ruins, immediately found out that Erika suddenly lost her signal, and this surprised him. They were suddenly attacked by a monster, but they easily defeated it. After Tachibana tamed the monster, she ordered the creature to look for others whom he could turn into slaves in the lower layers. After it left, they looked at what Erika saw a few seconds before her signal disappeared. Since Tachibana was wondering why she was in the hallway, Euphemia immediately thought that Erika might be planning to kill Tamachika. Tachibana said that there was a possibility that Yogai and Tamachika would leave the hotel, so he assigned Riza and Chelsea to stop them. Riza immediately used her power to block the hallway, but Yogai easily broke her barrier. She tried to attack again, but the same thing happened, so Yogai broke her wand and stopped her in creating barriers. They suddenly felt that something was behind them. Luckily, Tamachika acted quickly to catch it. It was just a doll, and there were a lot of them which were being controlled by Chelsea. When Yogai noticed what Riza was planning to do, he immediately used his power on her and targeted Chelsea's dolls. When they found her, Chelsea lost the courage to fight and told Yogai where Tachibana was. When Tachibana found out what happened at the hotel, he made a way to observe Yogai. He used the cockroaches to attack them, but this became the reason for Yogai to track him down. For this reason, Yogai had the opportunity to eliminate him. Stephanie immediately used her healing power, but she failed to save him. After Tachibana's death, Euphemia decided to leave there. When she came out of the ruins, she was already in the desert, and she saw the darkness heading to the city. Lane appeared to Euphemia, and was able to control her and bit her neck. When Yogai and Tamachika left the hotel, Mayusaki had already released the zombies and were scattered in the street. Because of what happened, the mayor of Hanibusa, named Takahashi, was very angry. When he found out that it was Lane's order, he could not do anything to stop it. Masayuki took the key to the barrier and locked it, so no one could leave the city. After a while, Masayuki stopped the zombies from attacking. He announced to everyone that they needed to capture Yogai and Tamachika and bring them to the square. If they could not do it within an hour, he would let the zombies attack the people again. Soon, some people saw Yogai and Tamachika. When one of them attacked, Yogai immediately ended his life, causing the two others to get scared and run away. Yogai thought that they should just go to the square, so that no one else would be dragged in danger. When they arrived there, they asked if the barrier could be removed, so they could use the station. But Masayuki just got angry and let his disciples attack them. Even though they were undead, Yogai was still able to defeat them, and Masayuki wondered how he did it. He immediately prepared to fight, but Yogai could not wait and instantly unalive him. Yogai talked to Takahashi, and that was when they found out about Lane. Takahashi was sure that she was the one who ordered Masayuki to kill them. Yogai and Mokomoko suddenly felt the spiritual manipulation which was targeting their location. It turned out to be the work of Lane, who was currently controlling the residents of the city to attack Yogai and Tamachika. Takahashi tried to use the barrier key to protect them, but it did not work. At that moment, he realized that Lane might have the control over the barrier. Euphemia was worried about what Lane was doing, and she advised her not to interfere too much with Yogai because of his terrifying power. Despite Euphemia's words, Lane still had no intention to stop the attack. She released her clones and each clone multiplied even more. After a while, the darkness reached the city, and every building it passed gradually disappeared from their sight. Lane planned that if the darkness was defeated, she would have her clones to attack. So even though Yogai knew that he could defeat the darkness, he could feel that something bad might happen next. When he killed the darkness, it was here that the clones of Lane started attacking the city. Just in time, a clone was about to fall on them, so Mokomoko quickly used the item she got earlier to protect Yogai and Tamachika. Since the main clone was the one that fell on them and was targeted by Yogai's power, the other clones also fell to the ground one by one. Lane was planning to create a clone with different settings, but it was too late because Yogai had tracked her down and eliminated her. When she disappeared, her reserved body had been awakened. She used the Philosopher's Stone to record the things that her reserved body needed to know. The new body had no memory of her, so it would not be affected if Yogai attacked Lane. Since she mentioned Yogai's name, her new persona could not forget it anymore. Meanwhile, Takahashi gave Yogai one of Masayuki's car, and the two decided to leave the city. On the other hand, the rest of their classmates were still in the forest to continue their training and strengthen themselves. When Ryoko, a samurai, returned to her tent, she immediately knew that someone had entered it. It turned out to be Carol, who was already holding her cell phone. Carol said that she wanted to check the monitoring tool on Yogai. So Ryoko found out that just like her, Carol was also one of those assigned to watch over Yogai. When she looked at her cell phone, she was shocked that the first gate of Alpha Omega had opened. Previously, the independent higher-order organism research institute hired the guardian of Alpha Omega. They chose the ordinary girl, named Asaka Takatu. At first, Asaka was still afraid of her job after she learned that she would take care of a person who was considered a monster. She was taken to the very bottom of the facility where the Alpha Omega was located. When he entered it, she seemed to be in an ordinary place outside because of what was posted on the wall. She entered the house and saw the young Yogai whom they referred to as Alpha Omega. She immediately took Yogai outside because she did not want to see him locked inside. When Yogai saw the shadow creature approaching Asaka, he immediately used his power on it. Then he said that he had no problem playing outside, but he would just do it the next day. It was only here that Asaka realized that it was getting dark, so she helped Yogai to get up. While they were eating, Asaka was thinking to give him a name. When he noticed that he had resemblance to a cute dog, she thought of the name Yogai. Yogai agreed to this, and also took Asaka's last name, so he was given a full name as Yogai Takatu. Tamachika soon woke him up because of the stones blocking the way. They decided to go back to find another way, but it turned out that a dragon was already behind them. When they came out of the car, the creature immediately attacked, so Yogai used his power on the creature. Tamachika was terrified to see a lot of dragons in the sky, but before they could attack them, Yogai quickly killed them all. After a while, a golden thunder dragon appeared to them, but it suddenly left. Yogai immediately warned the creature that if it did not return, he would definitely kill it. When the dragon returned, it transformed into its human form, which was a small girl. They found out that she was just testing them to see if they were worthy to face the swordmaster, since the little girl was given a task to find candidates with the potential to become a swordmaster. She also mentioned that the swordmaster had the ability to fight against a sage. After hearing this, Yogai thought that the swordmaster might know how they could return to their world. So they decided to go with the girl, and it was here that she introduced herself by the name Adela. When they arrived at the meeting place, they saw the other candidates who also aspired to become a swordmaster. The swordmaster told them all to start fighting, and that no one would stop until he said so. The others followed his order quickly, and when someone was about to attack Yogai and Tamachika, a knight came to protect them. There were also those hidden in the forest who planned to attack the knight, but Yogai used his power on them. After a while, someone asked Tamachika for help to hand over the colored stone which was in front of her. It turned out to be a so-called apology stone that had the ability to heal. Then the swordmaster stopped the battle, and told the remaining candidates to follow him. While they were walking, the knight introduced himself as Rick, and the one who asked help from Tamachika said that his name was Linnell. Yogai also asked Rick about the Divine King that Adela was referring to. According to Rick, the Divine King was the one who sealed the Dark God Albagarma thousands of years ago. But his disciples were currently working to release him again. A few moments later, they entered the trial, and since Adela was not allowed to enter it, she was left outside. The swordmaster took them to the top of a tower, and they saw the barrier that the Divine King used to seal the Dark God. Suddenly, Linnell's friend, named Frederica, stepped in and attacked the Dark God. But according to the swordmaster, it would take 100 years before her attack reached the Dark God. The swordmaster's assistant started to explain about the trial, and they had to reach the first floor in just one day. Apart from this, they also had to get 100 points inside the tower. When they started, those who first entered the tower immediately fell victim to the traps. After Linnell entered a room, he was fooled by a participant named Teresa, whom Rick knew personally. It turned out that she used to be a member of the Knights of Divine King, but she did something wrong, causing her to lose her title. She and Rick fought, and while the two continued to attack each other, Yogai took the opportunity to eliminate Teresa. After they saved Linel, they went to the floor where they had given access to a room, so they could rest. Yogai suggested that they split up, so Rick decided to continue while Linel took a room because he was going to wait until midnight to receive the apology stones again. A few hours later, the swordmaster looked at the trials data. His assistant was surprised because the number of casualties did not match to the number of souls in the tower. He also mentioned that they would also need the half-demons for the first barrier. The next morning, Cheyenne companion, named Hanibusa, attacked one of the known powerful candidate, named Rikudo, and tried to force him to join them. He was also from another world that received power from a god. Hanibusa had the power to know the name and abilities of her opponent. Although Rikudo possessed great power, he was still no match to Hanibusa's strength. A few moments later, Hanibusa received a message from Cheyenne. She was now assigned to find and kill Yogai and Tamachika. When she left, she met Hanakawa on the way. He begged her to make him a slave because he did not want to be eaten by magical beasts in the forest. Since he knew Yogai, Hanibusa decided to bring him with her. She dragged Hanakawa, who was afraid that Yogai would kill him, so he begged Hanibusa to just let him go. As Yogai and Tamachika continued in the trial, they met the creator of the tower, named Iglesia. When he prevented them from getting past and expressed that he wanted to eliminate them, Yogai decided to use his power on Iglesia. On the other hand, Rick had already completed his 100 points. Then he saw Frederica, who was forcing Linel to fight, so that he could gain 100 points. Yogai and Tamachika continued, and they ended up in a stadium. There was a battle going on there between one of Masaki's disciples, named Shiro, and to the opponent Theodisia. Masaki knew Theodisia was in disguise, so Theodisia was forced to expose her true personality as a half-demon. When she attacked, Shiro used her speed and was able to avoid her attack. While the two continued to exchange attacks, Yogai suddenly shouted to ask if they could pass through the area. Since Masaki's other followers had not gotten any points yet, he thought of letting Yogai join them in the battle, so his followers could get their accumulated points. The battle would be 3-on-3 in which Geralda and Emma were already involved. Masaki planned to kill only Yogai using his followers, and when Yogai learned about this plan, he decided to unalive Masaki's followers. When Masaki witnessed the death of his followers, he planned to attack, so Yogai also killed him. Because of what Theodisia saw, she asked Yogai for a favor. She informed them that she wanted to look for her missing sibling. She ventured to this area because her sister might be there, and she also received information that some from her race were also there. She knew that she would surely need to face the swordmaster. Yogai agreed to her request, but they could only help her in the search. After a while, Rick and the others also came, so they went together towards the first floor. When the swordmaster was about to proclaim them as the Knights of the Divine King, his staffs came to inform him about the situation of the barrier. Before the swordmaster could react, something suddenly exploded that caused the collapse of the tower. It turned out to be the work of one of the disciples of Albagarma, so the swordmaster told everyone to defeat the intruder as their first task in becoming Knights of the Divine King. While Yogai and the girls secretly walked out to go to the underground, because Theodisia felt that her people were there. The enemy wanted to know how to break the barrier, but the swordmaster did not tell him anything, so he started killing the other's knights. Frederica tried to attack the enemy, but it was easily blocked. Their opponent introduced himself as Orgain, and his companion who suddenly appeared was Lute. Frederica also tried to attack him, but it caused her to lose her hand. Because of this, Rick also acted to fight Lute. Linel used his apology stones, but what appeared to him was the goddess who brought him to this world. Orgain suddenly knelt down in front of her, so they found out that her name was Vanahato, and a colleague of their opponents. While Tamachika and Yogai were walking towards the underground, Tamachika suddenly felt something got past which scared her. When Theodisia entered a room in the underground, her eyes could not believe what she saw. Because of what happened to Theodisia's people, Yogai did not let Tamachika enter the room to witness the horrible scene. Theodisia decided to face the swordmaster because she wanted him to pay for what he had done to her people. The swordmaster chose Rick, who could help him defeat the enemies. He stated that if he died, Rick would automatically become the new swordmaster. Linel thought of a way to help Rick, so he talked to Vanahato first to give them time. Since he also wanted to know Vanahado's true identity, he also found out that she only used him and sent him to this world, because she thought that his bad luck might be the reason for the dark god to come back again. A few moments later, she suddenly laughed out loud because she found out that the creator of the tower was dead, as well as the goddess's killers. Then she decided to take the barrier's core and crushed it, causing the barrier to break. But they were surprised that only the Divine King had awoken. Yogai and the girls came just in time, so Theodosia took advantage of this opportunity to kill the swordmaster for her revenge. Suddenly, the blade master appeared and attacked Vanahado, and this creature was what Tamachika felt earlier in the underground. It quickly left the area, and Luke immediately healed Vanahado. After Organe got the body of the dark god, he mobilized their disciples. The Divine King immediately protected them by creating a barrier. Due to the danger and the threat brought by the enemies, Yogai decided to use his power to kill all the monsters. Vanahado suddenly got mad and used her power to attack, then a few moments later, Hanibusa also arrived at the tower. She saw in Rick that he was already the new swordmaster, so she told him to use his sword on Vanahado because it would surely defeat the enemy. Rick immediately followed her advice and was able to defeat Vanahado when he attacked. Hanibusa also saw Yogai, so she immediately checked what kind of power he had. But she was shocked at what she found out, and this caused her to suddenly fall to her knees. Because of what she saw, she felt great fear. And in order to get out of there safely, she said that she just came to bring Hanakawa to them. Then she quickly left, so Hanakawa tried to explain to Yogai why he left the forest. And regarding to what Theodosia did to the former swordmaster, Rick wanted to punish her. Yogai suggested that they should check the underground first before judging her action, and if he was still determined to punish Theodosia, he made it clear that he would choose to protect her. The Divine King interrupted the conversation to stop Rick from arguing with Yogai, because she knew that Yogai was the one who exterminated the Dark God's disciples. After hearing this, Rick did not continue on what he was planning to do. Theodosia mentioned that her sister's name was Euphemia. Although the name was familiar to Yogai and Tamachika, they could not remember where they heard it. The Divine King planned to go to the sanctuary in the royal capital to visit her relatives. Since they were all heading to the royal capital, Rick suggested that they go on the trip together, but Yogai refused his offer. So Rick just gave them a necklace that would help them when they arrived at the royal capital. Yogai left Hanakawa alone, but Lute approached him, who managed to get away before Yogai targeted him. He was planning to release the younger sister of the Dark God, so that she herself would face Yogai. But since he did not have much information on Yogai yet, he decided to bring Hanakawa with him. Meanwhile, Cheyenne still could not determine what was wrong with Yogai, so she decided to summon someone who knew Yogai's true identity. This person was one of the researchers from the institute where Yogai came from. When the professor found out that he was in another world and Yogai was also there, he immediately thought that Yogai probably acquired his power from this place. But when his monitoring tool gave a warning about the opening of the first gate of the Alpha Omega, he immediately begged Cheyenne to bring him back to his world. It turned out that the self-destruct was activated in his body. Because of what happened, Cheyenne became even more worried about who Yogai really was. The next morning, the system alert suddenly woke Ayaka. According to this, she was turned into an android. This system had different types of units that explained to her about her current situation. She was told to get out of the battle unit, and told her to eat the dragon's flesh to serve as material for her recovery. While Yogai and Tamachika were on their way to the royal capital, Yogai had a dream that happened when he was young. This was when the institute gave Asaka a vacation leave, so that she could rest. But one day, Yogai woke up and found himself in a room that was unfamiliar to him. Asaka's vacation took so long and she had not yet returned to the company. Since Yogai wanted to see her already, he decided to look for her. So one day, Yukio was surprised to see his other colleagues lying dead on their stations. Yogai had already climbed up to the next floor, and he was eliminating those who would try to prevent him from getting out. When he got to Yukio's location, it was here that Yogai found out that Asaka had been kidnapped by the agency. Since they could do nothing about Asaka's current situation, Yogai decided to save her. When he went to the agency, they also tried to stop him, but he just easily killed them. So the agency decided to take Asaka as hostage. When Yogai saw them, he immediately killed the person who was holding Asaka. Because of this, Yogai successfully saved Asaka and they returned to his house. Although Asaka knew that she would not be able to take care of Yogai for the rest of her life, she admitted that she could not leave him yet. After a few hours of travel, Yogai reached the royal capital. They were immediately blocked by the soldiers on guard in front of the gate. Torx, who was the lead security guard of the south central gate, even let them out. He explained that it was because of the car they used, which was owned by Masayuki. So they immediately said that they had no connection with Masayuki, and the mayor of Hanibusa gave them the car. They also said that they were sage candidates, but this was not enough to let them enter the royal capital. When Yogai showed the necklace given by Rick, Torx and the soldiers quickly knelt down. They were about to be given access to get in, but Prince David suddenly came. Because they were holding the necklace, he knew that they were Rick's companions and also members of the Knights of the Divine King. So he wanted them to prove that they were indeed members of the Knights of the Divine King before they could enter the royal capital. In order for them to prove it, they had to fight David in a duel. They decided to let Tomochika face David because Mokomoko was complacent with Tomochika's ability. When the duel started, Tomochika gradually came closer to her opponent, and David did not notice because of the distraction that she was doing. When Tomochika saw an opportunity, she attacked David, and her opponent was unable to avoid it because of her speed. After his defeat, David could do nothing but let Yogai and Tomochika enter the gate. When David recovered from pain, he volunteered to guide the two in the city. On the other hand, Shin visited Hanibusa, who locked herself up because she was so afraid of Yogai. She said that Yogai was not a human, and he could be the one who would end their world. After a few hours, Yogai and Tomochika went to the royal palace where they saw their classmates. They were waiting for the king, who would give them their second mission. As soon as the king arrived, Ushio immediately spoke regarding his complaints. The king got annoyed, so he approached him, and he used his sword to cut off Ushio's fingers. Then the king informed them of their mission, and it was to defeat the dark god in the underworld of the royal capital. Before he left, he also said that the royal family had the ability to weaken the gift of others, so Ushio's fingers would be healed once he leave. Tomochika took advantage of this opportunity to get everyone's attention, and the others were surprised that they were still alive. When they arrived at the base prepared for them, Suguru spoke to them and insisted that it was not a wrong decision to leave them on the bus. Their current acting leader, named Akino, approached and decided to include them in the group. Even if Suguru did not agree with this, he could not do anything else. A few minutes later, while Tomochika was talking to her two classmates, Ryuko and Carol came to talk to her too. Yogai was currently talking to Fukai, who also knew about his true identity. During their conversation, he found out that Fukai was also watching over him even when they were in the other world. He suddenly removed one of his eyes that had the ability to detect abnormal events, but since they entered this world, it stopped working. When Fukai left, Tomochika came to talk to Yogai. They went out and Ryuko immediately apologized to Yogai. She was afraid because the first gate had already opened, which only means that no matter where they were, Yogai could be able to detect and kill them. While talking to the girls, Yogai found out that they were also assigned to watch over him, and he did not expect that there were 3 among his classmates who were assigned to this task. At night, they started to go to the underworld to do the mission given to them by the king. Rick would guide Tomochika's group, while Yogai's group would be with David. At that moment, Tomochika found out that Rick was actually a prince of the kingdom. Although Yogai had no experience in wielding a sword, he could still use it well because he could see a line that guided him. When Hanakawa and Lute arrived at the royal capital, Lute disguised himself as a girl, so he would not be recognized. At that time, Euphemia was walking towards the royal capital when she met the new persona of Lane, so she immediately knelt in front of her. Since the girl could not think of a name yet, she introduced herself to Euphemia as Risley. That night, Hanakawa and Lute went to a cafe, but Hanakawa felt uncomfortable because his other classmates were also there. So Lute used a recognition blocker, so his classmates would not notice them. After a while, a woman approached Hanakawa's classmates. It turned out to be Ayaka, who immediately beat Ushio. One of them tried to help Ushio, but he was not match against Ayaka's strength. Ayaka just continued beating Ushio until he was out of breath. Then she warned the others that she would kill them one by one, including their other classmates. A few moments after Ayaka left, Shin also came to the cafe. Lute could not believe that his recognition blocker did not work on her. It turned out that Shin was there on purpose to talk to Hanakawa because she wanted to know something about Yogai. At first, she planned to kill Yogai to avoid the possible problems in the future, but she also thought that she might be able to use him in some ways. Lute stated that he must be the one to get rid of Yogai, but Shin did not believe that he could not do anything against Yogai. Hanakawa said that he also wanted to go to the Underworld, so Shin told him how he could go there. When Shin got home, Otori talked to her and asked if they could be given an extension because they had not yet reached the Dark God's abode, and the 1-month grace period was about to end. She agreed to Otori's request, but told him that they needed to get rid of Yogai first. She had also sent a request to an assassin guild called Dark Garden, which was led by Ryusaku, to do the same. As Theodisia continued to search for Euphemia, she saw a carriage with barrels on it. She felt that there were half-demons inside, so she acted quickly to save them. One of the abductors was about to run away, but he was stopped by Euphemia, who happened to pass the same route, and this caused the siblings to meet each other. One day, Ryusaku started to act and target Yogai. The sniper they assigned to kill him was very scared because he already knew what might happen to him if he missed, but he could not refuse because someone was guarding him. Before he could even fire the gun, Yogai had already detected the sniper, so he killed him. When they aimed at Tamachika, it was the moment when Yogai saw the drone. He gave a warning to the guild to stop before he destroyed the drone. Ryusaku tried to escape, but it was too late for him. After Tamachika dropped Ryusaku to the ground, Yogai faced him. He was even more surprised when Mokomoko caught his spirits. In this situation, he was forced to release the Fenrir, but Yogai immediately defeated it. Then he used the Queen of the Dead World, named Yama, but she also could not do anything against Yogai. But another member of the guild acted to target Yogai. Fortunately, Tamachika was able to catch the dagger. Yogai happened to know the attacker, and she was Enju. Since he knew that she was just a robot, he was able to deactivate her. Then he approached Ryusaku to ask him what he knew. But after Ryusuke told him all the informations, Yogai still decided to kill him because he might create more clones of Enju. Otori went to the base of Ryusaku, and he could not believe that what he knew about Yogai was far from the data that he was reading. Yogai and Tamachika went home, and he explained to her about his relationship to Enju. He said that he used to play with her when he was a child, but the one they encountered was just a robot and designed to look like Enju with a mission to kill him. So as not to confuse Tamachika, he clarified that the real Enju was still alive. Every night, Ayaka continued to attack her classmates. With the strength she had acquired, she was able to defeat everyone she encountered. So one night, Akino called for a meeting. Akino told everyone that they had been ordered to leave the royal capital because of the chaos caused by Ayaka's attacks. She planned that they all must go to the Underworld to quickly finish their mission there. The next day, they all went to the 6th floor of the Underworld. Due to the experience they had after the series of fights, they could easily defeat their opponents. After the battle they also built their base in the area. And a few days later, they had finished the construction, so they thought of having a party. Tamachika noticed that Yogai was not in the room, so she decided to look for him. Yogai was just in the forest and was busy playing on his phone. After a while, he saw David walking as if he was drunk. David did not notice him, so Yogai just followed him. When David was close to the cliff, Yogai immediately stopped him. But a few moments later, there was a sudden earthquake that caused the collapse of the land where they stood. Shin suddenly appeared to those left behind in the base to inform them of the awakening event. They were all ordered to fight each other until only one of them was left. Ryoko was shocked after seeing on her monitoring tool that the second gate of Alpha Omega had opened. While Yogai and David were falling on the 7th floor of the Underworld, he was able to stop the momentum, which was why they landed safely. After the students heard what Shin had said, Fukai immediately contradicted her order. In order for them to avoid what she wanted to happen, he thought of killing her. But when he used his death god, it did not work on Shin. He tried to use this power several times until Shin had enough and just ended his life. Because of what happened, the others quickly ran away. Hanakawa quickly reached the 7th floor and saw the dark god, named Mana, who was referred to by Lute as Albagarma's younger sister. Albagarma sealed her in order to protect her from the enemies. Lute also immediately informed her about Albagarma's death. Mana was not too surprised because she knew that this day would come. But she said that she would definitely avenge her brother. Before she started her plan, she planned to give birth to his older brother. So she started to take both of Lute's hands. She was about to take his brain too, but Hanakawa begged her not to do it. She agreed, but she ordered Hanakawa to remove the seal. When the seal was removed, Hanakawa begged if they could leave there. Mana allowed them, but when they were leaving, the floor suddenly changed and became sticky. Lute said that it was possible that they were already in Mana's womb. In order to save Hanakawa, Lute kicked him out of the castle. Then Hanakawa quickly ran away from it until he reached Yogai's location. When Yogai saw the monster that was chasing Hanakawa, he immediately used his power to dissolve it. Then he asked him how to get back to the 6th floor. Since Hanakawa knew the way back, they agreed that Hanakawa would give the information as long as Yogai would also protect him. At that moment, the battle of the other students had started in the base. Yukimasa found out that Yogai was coming, so he thought that this would be a good opportunity to kill him and Hanakawa. But no matter what changes he made for the future, he would still die at the end. So when he met them, he was immediately killed by Yogai. While in another part of the castle, Osamu and Masahiro were working together against Mei. But they were surprised that she was still alive. Masahiro tried to attack her again, but it still did not work. After what they did, Mei retaliated using her power, causing both of them to be killed. When Mei saw on the portal that Hanakawa was also included in the awakening event, she decided to eliminate him too. The three were on their way out, so she quickly teleported to meet them. When she noticed Yogai, she tried to attack him first, but Yogai just used a Denura elbow on her. Because of this, the cat that was giving her power immediately perished. When she was about to use the black cat's power, Yogai also killed it, so she no longer had the power to fight against them. Hanakawa thought of something that he wanted to do with Mei, but she was so scared that she quickly ran away from them. Ayaka was also there and was currently fighting against Kyoko. While Suguru decided to take the leadership position from Akino. He planned to unite them all again because they would face Shin. But Akino refused to agree with what he wanted, so he just decided to end her life. When they surrounded her, Akino was forced to use her power, and every time they touched someone, those she created immediately exploded. After she killed Suguru, Mana's disciple suddenly came there. It quickly devoured them, so Oitori was forced to use his secret weapon. Due to the intense battle that was happening near the castle, Tamachika and Mokomoko also noticed it. They were about to return when they were suddenly blocked by creatures that looked like souls. It turned out to be Mikochi's doing, so only then did Tamachika found out that she was a necromancer. Mikochi also showed the princess of the ancient species named Tianu. Then she suddenly snatched Mokomoko from Tamachika, causing Tamachika's clothes to disappear as well. Yogai just happened to pass by at the same area, so he immediately aimed at Hanakawa's eyes. He approached Tamachika to cover her naked body with his coat. Since Mikochi was holding Mokomoko, she could also feel the fear that Mokomoko felt for Yogai. After she released Mokomoko, it was here that her power was awakened. But before she could attack, Yogai immediately ended her life too. After a few minutes of fighting between Kyoko and Ayaka, Kyoko could no longer think of what weapon she would use to defeat her opponent. In her desire to release a new weapon, she was able to create a bomb. When Yogai met Ryuko, he felt an incoming danger, so he immediately told Tamachika to go near him. Oitori was not able to leave his current location, causing him to be affected by the great force of the explosion. Due to the severity of the damage that Ayaka suffered, the system gave her some choices. If she wanted to continue, she could transform into a dragon, but she could no longer return to her human form. Since she wanted to live, she chose to transform into this creature. Yogai and the others successfully survived, but they were surprised when they saw the change in the whole area. Yogai thought that this might be because of the force of the explosion that left almost nothing to the area. Ayaka used her dragon warriors to make sure that none of her classmates had survived. When she found them, she ordered her dragon warriors to attack her classmates, but Yogai just killed them all instantly. It was here that the system noticed Yogai, and they immediately recognized that he was the Alpha Omega. So they immediately told Ayaka to leave there. But she did not listen to the given advice, so Yogai got the chance to end her life too. A few minutes later, Shin appeared to them. While she was talking, Yogai aimed at one of her legs. She tried to attack, but her power did not work on Yogai. Then he asked her how they could return to their world. But she still refused to answer, so Yogai once again used her power on her fingers. Because of her situation, Shin quickly decided to return to her castle. She immediately removed her affected fingers, but even the one she replaced with her hand would not function. When Yuichi came to her, Yogai also targeted him. Shin was so worried about Yuichi that she returned to Yogai's place to beg him to stop. Yogai asked her again, but she told him the truth that at the current moment, there was no way for them to return to their world. When Yogai informed her of what Hanakawa had experienced before, Shin said that at that time, there might still be a link from there to the other side. After hearing this, Yogai just asked her for the coordinates of their world. With this and the necessary energy, it was still possible for them to return. Shin also gave him her philosopher's stone, but she knew that it was still not enough. And she told them that they must defeat the other sages first to accumulate many philosopher's stones. When Yogai and the others left, Shin tried to go back to Yuichi, but Mana caught her leg so that she could not teleport. When Mana appeared, Shin cut off her leg, but she was caught once again. Shin fell and all her abilities were disabled, but she mentioned Yogai's name to Mana, and told her that he was the one who would kill her. Not long after, Mana was able to climb up to the royal capital, causing Rick to immediately take action. Bishop Holaris, who was a follower of Mana, was happy with what he saw, but he did not expect that David and the others were right behind him. Yogai did not waste any more time and immediately ended Holaris' life. A few moments after they noticed the situation of the royal capital, Mana suddenly appeared to them. She asked Hanakawa to who was Yogai, and to his fear, he immediately pointed to the man that she was looking for. Mana was about to get ready to attack, but Yogai got ahead and instantly killed her. After that, they were all so tired, and Tamachika wanted them to rest first, so David volunteered to guide them to a nearby city. Only then they noticed that Hanakawa was no longer with them. Ryoko and Carol both decided to join them too. Not long after, Risley came and immediately proposed to Yogai to marry her, but he immediately rejected it. After Theodosia and Euphemia got out of the carriage, Risley decided to give Yogai her philosopher's stone just so Yogai would listen to her plea. Meanwhile, the Divine King could not believe that Yogai had also defeated another dark god. This was the end of the last episode of My Instant Death Ability is So Overpowered Season 1. I hope you like it, and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel so you won't miss newly uploaded videos. Thank you for watching.